negative numbers. First, we're going to start with some real life examples to help us learn some of the rules. So we can use the number line to the side to help us. What is the difference between a temperature of 2 and a temperature of -3? Well, if you consult the number line, going from 2 to -3 means going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees. So the difference is 5 degrees. But if we think about what the word difference actually means, the difference between two numbers is when you take them away from each other. So what I've actually just worked out is that 2 take away -3 is equal to 5. And I can see that that's obviously the same thing as doing 2 plus 3. So this tells me that taking away a negative number is actually the same thing as adding. And you can see on the number line the reason why, because when you're taking away a negative number, when you're finding the difference, it means that you have to go all the way down to 0, and then from 0 down to -3, which means that actually you have this amount of jumps to get you to 0, followed by this amount of jumps to get you to the desired negative number. So doing a subtraction of a negative number is actually the same as addition. What is the difference between a temperature of -2 and -6? Well, if I'm at -2 and I want to go to -6, I go 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps down the way. Now remember, difference means subtract, so that tells me that -2 take away -6 is equal to 4 degrees. It's a difference of 4 degrees. Now again, you can see here that that's actually the same thing as adding. So if I start at -2 and add 6 degrees, I get to 4. So again, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding, even when the number in front is positive or when the number in front is negative. That doesn't make a difference, but subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. Okay, if the temperature is -6 and increases by 2, what is the new temperature? So -6 increasing by 2 brings me to -4. Now what have I done there? If I've increased, I've added. So -6 plus 2 brings me to -4. So if you're at a negative number on your number line and then you are adding to that number, you're going up the number line. Now if I have £20 in the bank and I owe £5 to my mum, how much money do I have in total? Let's think about what this actually means. Well, the word total means add, so it means I'm adding my amounts of money together. Now I have £20 in the bank, so that's 20. But if I owe my mum £5, that actually means that that's a negative 5, because I owe that to someone else, so that's a negative amount. But total, remember, means that I'm adding. That's what total means. So logically, if I have £20 in the bank and I owe my mum £5, I have £15 left in total. But you can see that if we look at that mathematically, what we're saying here is that 20 plus -5 is 15. And again, you know obviously that that would be the same thing. To get from 20 to 15 is taking away 5. So that shows us here that plus a negative is the same as taking away. So this is what we've just basically seen with our previous examples. Two very important rules. That adding a negative number is the same thing as subtracting. And that's what we saw with the 20 plus -5. And that subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. And that's what we saw with the 2 take away -3 using the temperatures as our differences. Now let's look then at some actual examples for this. So 3 plus -5, well, I am adding a negative. That's the same thing as subtracting. So 3 take away 5 gives me 2. -3 plus -5, well, again, the -3 doesn't actually make a difference. I'm adding a negative. That is the same thing as subtracting. Now, -3 take away -5, consider a number line. Here's -3. If I'm taking away, I'm moving further down the number line. And what I'm basically doing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps further down the number line. So that would be -8.